Welcome to a very somber day here on Jedi Alliance. It is our last show with John Rocha as a co-host, but he's coming in.
What?
He's coming.
It's not somber.
It's gonna be a celebration regardless, but like it's a weird celebration. But we're gonna talk about some of his favorite topics from the Star Wars saga, as well as the weird loop of news that is surrounding Rogue One. So stay with us.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Jedi Alliance.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 109 of Jedi Alliance, right here on the Popcorn Talk Network. I am one of your hosts, and it's Mark Donica, but it's not about me today.
What?
It is about John the Rock Rocha.
Yes.
Man.
Yes, man.
Today, unfortunately, today is your last show with us here at Jedi Alliance.
It is as a co-host. I'll be back as a guest or whatever. Yeah, of course.
I'll fight
you. Oh, hell, thank
you.
And
you'll rightfully kick my butt.
Well, I don't like to use my hands. I'm not a big fan of using the hands or swinging. I just like to use the voice. And then if the situation calls for it, maybe somewhere down the road, but never with you. Yes, thank you. Yes, last episode. Mm-hmm. Happy to be here. Happy to talk about Star Wars. There wasn't much news.
There was barely any news.
Yeah, so we're not going to even try to fabricate stuff.
No.
So we're just going to hang around and talk Star Wars. And I sent some tweets out. So if you're watching us live, I sent a tweet out. If you want to send in some questions, use the hashtag.
Use the hashtag
Jedi Alliance.
And also in the live chat. I'm in the live chat. We unfortunately we do not have Michael today, so yes. I'm going to be policing the chat as much as I can.
Yeah.
But please send it along. This is. I mean, you don't like hearing it, but it's all about you.
No,
it's all about you.
I don't like those things.
I'm not. Why?
Stop it.
We're gonna put a spotlight on you.
I'm really uncomfortable in this.
All about you. I'm gonna interrogate you about the Star. It's like an exit interview. This feels like an exit interview. A Star Wars exit interview.
Well, I had a great time and I learned a lot of lessons. And no. This is gonna. Yeah, it's just been time and it's been kind of building. We were making some changes, but I kind of hit some kind of wall. But I know I've got other things that I need to kind of find time for, and this is such a great show that I wasn't going to be able to give the time that I need to give to it, and I didn't see the logic in staying on when you could find someone else who's going to like really give it the love it deserves. And so, unfortunately for me, that's what it kind of came down to. It was a 2 months long decision. You know, I've been going back and forth on this.
This has been going for a while.
Yeah. And so finally, I just kind of realized, and I just don't want to. I don't want the fans down. I don't want to let you down, the staff down, the production people. Like I want to be able to bring my best. And the last few weeks, it's been kind of difficult to get all the information, get everything prepared, come in ready to go. And so for me, I have a certain level of pride in that, in my performance. And if I can't bring it, then I'm like, I shouldn't do it.
You're a beautiful soul. That's what you are.
Oh, stop it.
You're a beautiful sapling.
Sapling?
But yes. You've had a heck of a weekend.
I did.
You were down at Stanley's LA Comic Con.
Yes, that was so much fun. They're doing that at LA Comic Con because we got to do the Schmoes Know panel, which was a blast, and then got to talk to the fans, got to meet some people, do a meet and greet, which was a blast, which was so much fun. And people did bring up Jedi Alliance. People were upset that I was leaving. Mm-hmm. They were upset that they weren't sure what was going to happen with the show. So that was very nice of people to say that. So it's not it's always nice when you affect people in any way, shape, or form, so that they even remember that you're on a show, let alone bring up how much they enjoy you on the show. So that was awesome.
You are not the Jar Jar Binks of Jedi Alliance.
Thank you, Jesus.
That is me 100%.
Oh, stop it.
Looking for redemption all the time.
What?
On a consistent basis. That's me.
You wouldn't bumble your way into what? That's ridiculous.
I bumble my way into a lot of things.
You run this place. You co-run this place. I think so.
Arguably.
Yes.
So there really isn't that any news, but I wanted to comment on it. So why don't we hit our cue for news from the HoloNet? Love that parade of Ewoks. But so the reason we're not doing news this week, and something else that I'm going to bring up at the end of the show, is right now we're in a loop of just anticipation for Rogue One and people trying to avoid spoilers and the smallest, tiniest pieces of nuggets of information that are essentially, hey, the movie's going to be about Jyn Erso.
Yeah.
Cool, we know about that. How is the movie going to end? Oh, it was difficult to pick how the movie was going to end. Cool, great. All this tiny stuff that I personally, as a fan, don't need to nitpick because the movie's so close. Mm-hmm. If this was 6 months ago and we were getting there, it was a terrible, we couldn't decide how to end the movie. That'd be something interesting to talk about.
Right.
But since we're a little over a month away, which is weird to say.
It really is, right?
But because we're so short on time from the movie, like people are just grasping
Yeah.
at headlines for Star Wars.
Yeah.
So instead, let's use the time to talk about what we love about the franchise, like we used to. So it's a little bit upsetting. So we're the only relative piece of news that there was that there might be an announcement soon of when tickets are going to go on sale, maybe because of an early announcement from someplace in Middle America for their theater. And it hasn't been substantiated by any other reputable source whatsoever. And that's the biggest piece of news. Poe Dameron number 7 just came out, so that series is going strong. Darth Vader just ended, so we're in between a lot.
Well, there were some interviews with Alden Ehrenreich. There's interviews with Donald Glover on Ellen talking about being cast and having their first experiences, but they're pretty standard stuff, you know.
I'm excited to be a part of the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
I can't wait for you to see what we're planning. Stuff.
Yeah.
Very basic, cookie cutter.
Right.
I'm just happy to be here interviews.
Yes.
And nothing
It didn't satisfy Mark Donica. It did not satisfy Mark Donica.
There's nothing to really analyze. And we talked about Donald Glover being cast.
We did.
3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
So by the time it was confirmed, we were like,
yeah, saw it coming.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Okay.
So yeah, we're moving on with that and going to the last time a host left the show, we sort of programmed the show around him. Joseph wanted to do a mind probe for his last episode, and you are very adamant about certain topics on the Star Wars universe, and we've only had a little bit of a chance to talk about them.
Yes.
So today, you have a couple of topics that you want to talk about, that you want to bring up, and I am excited. I'm sorry, am I boring you?
No, let's do it. This is me intaking breath, so I'm ready to go.
Okay, sorry, I look like a yawn.
No.
So what was the first topic that you want to talk about?
What did I send you?
You sent me Boba Fett as the top of your list.
Well, is it the top? I will accept it. All right, yeah, Boba Fett. I don't understand this backlash of people saying they don't want to have a standalone movie of Boba Fett. It doesn't. I don't get it. Why not? He's the most mysterious character we have in the universe, from the main original trilogy. You know, he doesn't say much. We get some background with Jango Fett. We have some what's involved, their relationship there. I would love to see some more. The Mandalorian culture is so awesome, but it's not been shown on screen. We haven't explored it. Supposedly, you know, it's a huge umbrella of different species, and we see it with Sabine in Rebels. So I think there's so much to explore here. So it's kind of mind blowing to me that people are like, well, it should be mixed in with other things, and maybe it shouldn't be. And I'm like, why? It would be so much fun to have a standalone Boba Fett movie. It would be a blast to see his progression from a young bounty hunter and the adventures he goes on as a young bounty hunter into where he becomes his own kind of man.
Full action of the animated short that he was introduced in.
Yeah, sure, that would be great. Let's do that.
Now I'm of the camp that Boba Fett is oversaturating Star Wars media.
Wow,
that's of me. But I do agree with you. I would really
in your honor.
If you're
okay, yes, go ahead.
If we're talking about making a Boba Fett movie that involves Mandalorian culture,
yes,
give me a Gladiator-esque style.
There we go.
Story of redemption, trying to make it in Mandalorian society as somebody who wasn't naturally born of that society, a better made John Carter of Mars, if you will.
There we go.
A complete outsider coming into this culture that he's supposed to identify with, but knows nothing about because he spent his whole life his whole childhood on Camino.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So there's so much to explore there, and you're going to see it through his eyes, the culture through his eyes and his experiences, and what hones him, what trains him. People loved the prequel. I don't know if you call it a prequel comic that followed Kanan. You know, and his progression as
that's a prequel.
Yeah, you could say that, right? With Pep Delaba and everything that happened after that, and how he progressed as a Jedi, or as almost a Jedi, I guess you would say, from Padawan to somewhat of a Jedi. And why wouldn't we see this with Boba Fett? Boba Fett's considered the best bounty hunter by most people, at least the most recognizable one. IG-88, obviously, you have a thing. Cad Bane, obviously, there's more. But I think there's a lure of Boba because we don't have so much. So why not explore it and flesh him out a little bit more? And people are like, oh, well, it'll take away the mystery. I don't agree. I think it'll make him an even more interesting character and fun for us to now put history on whatever this person's going to do in the future after his standalone film comes out.
And it gets us into the gray that we've been seeing in Star Wars media lately with Lost Stars and some of the comics, the Darth Vader comics especially. Yeah. And I agree. It gives you some extra backstory there where if it's a movie, that makes it this is what happened, whereas
Yeah.
people are still kind of like, I don't know if I want to accept the comics when they're supposed to be canon.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to accept the books when they're supposed to be canon.
Yeah.
But when it's on screen, that's it.
Yeah.
That's set.
Yeah.
But you really don't think that Boba Fett is absolutely everywhere when it comes to merchandise or...
Oh, sure, name recognition.
Yeah.
But the character itself, we haven't explored enough of it. And I think that's my point of view. It's not a matter of... And if he is already everywhere, that's even more reason to do it because Disney loves to sell stuff merchandise. So why not? You'd already double down on it. And if you create other characters, create other worlds, create other planets, the situations to put himself in, even ironically create an antagonist for him being the protagonist of his own movie, that person you'd open up a whole new well of merchandise that you could mine. In my opinion,
I can agree with that. There's some impressive sniffs.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. So the next
I get psyched up. Yeah.
Let us know what you think about a Boba Fett movie. I'm gonna check the comments right now. I'd rather have a Fett movie than a Han Solo movie. That's from Jake Stanley.
Nice.
On Tatooine escaping the Sarlacc.
Right. A retrospective film, like a film where he escapes. He's sitting at a bar somewhere or sitting somewhere in his ship in Slave One, and he's just like exhausted, having survived the Sarlacc pit, and then we go in flashback to the beginning to where he leads, and he goes on another mission by the time we go back to present day with him in the Sarlacc pit. That's the show, movie.
Or the Netflix show, or the Star Wars Network show.
Star Wars Network show, yes. Which is another one I wanted to, anyway,
The next thing you wanted to talk about was Kylo Ren.
Okay.
What about Kylo Ren did you want to discuss? Let me just take a second.
Do we really think that Kylo is a double agent?
Like straight up, like from the beginning?
Yes, that him killing Solo is his way of going fully showing everyone that he really is.
I mean it, guys.
Yeah, to Snoke and all of them. Do you think they can't sense his... If they're so powerful as Force users, do you think they can't sense that he's changing his mind or he's double-crossing them or he's doing whatever?
No, I think he's in it. I think it would. I think it would cheapen him if he was like, "Surprise, guys! I was in on it the whole time. I'm on your side." Like, no. If it's one thing to be a character who feels that this is what's right for him.
Yeah.
And find out that he's wrong.
Yeah.
And seek redemption for that. But if you're in it the entire time, it's just like, oh man, they're making me kill my dad. I gotta show them that I'm serious, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't like that. That's not cool.
Yeah, I don't. Me too. And I keep hearing this. Oh, he could be double agent. Could be this or that. And I get it. Fans want to speculate on this kind of stuff. Go ahead. Knock yourself out. Some of the best stuff I enjoy is speculation on Star Wars, like the recent one where Palpatine might be Rey's grandfather. I mean, that was fantastic to read that, to watch that 12-minute video. I think Vincent, whatever his name is, I forget, Victor or something like that, who put it up there. It was so good, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. See, and because there's so much to explore here. But I think if Kylo does that, they go that route with Kylo, I'll be super, super upset because it was like people are already lashing out at him as a villain because of the emo stuff and not really believing he's that powerful of a villain. So if you're going to undercut him even more by making him a double agent and he wasn't even effective being a villain initially, then you're really destroying the character.
And it was established in the prequels that if you're strong enough on the dark side, you can cloud the force of the light. And I don't suspect him to be more powerful than Supreme Leader Snoke in that regard.
Right.
So how could he trick him?
Yeah, exactly.
And if he's a double agent, are all of the Knights of Ren double agents?
Right.
And all of a sudden we have
Did
this
they not
Legion
kill all
of
those Jedi?
Yeah,
right.
Like, oh nope, we were in on it. They're just hiding somewhere, and that's why Luke had to hide. They're in a bunker. Like, no, that cheapens everything, and that makes the Han Solo sacrifice. Spoiler alert, I guess. It makes that so ridiculous and unnecessary.
Yeah, and I think if you're going to have this and create something like the Knights of Ren, you really undercut the character if you don't give him, like, they've got to work really hard. I think that's the greatest uphill battle they have going into 8 is really creating Kylo as a viable villain, like really working on the stuff that people complained about coming out of Force Awakens, which I watch Force Awakens all the time. And I still have issues with what they did with Kylo, like how they created him. And nothing against Adam Driver. Adam Driver's a good actor, really good actor. But there's just something about that combination of him. It's not as overwhelming. I've been watching the films all over again on TNT because they've been showing them on TBS and TNT in HD. I watched Revenge of the Sith again last night, and then I watched a little bit of New Hope this morning. And you just see the difference. You know what I'm saying? even Hayden Christensen's Anakin, when he in Revenge of the Sith, when he
Nuts.
it's fantastic. You don't have that vibe when you're watching Kylo. You don't have that vibe like when you watch Darth Vader: New Hope. You don't have that vibe when you're watching Kylo. And I think that's the mistake they made in Force Awakens. And if they don't correct it in 8 and just keep doubling down on what they're doing with him, I think people are gonna rebel against it eventually. I rebel.
We've got a couple of folks saying that episode 8 is when we will see Kylo go full villain. That's Chris Neha and Jake Stanley. And Niles Delta even going so far as to saying that Kylo is a puppet
Of Snoke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
which is what Han Solo referred to on the bridge. Right.
I think if something that I would like to see personally is the rule of 2 reenacted, where he gets powerful enough from the training from Snoke, where he goes later, and we actually see the first time on screen. Well, I think the first time firsthand that we see the rule of 2 come into play, because we technically saw it in episode 3,
right?
But to see student kill master directly would be strong. I think.
I agree. And if there's any way to redeem him, you have to turn him full heel, as we would talk in wrestling terms, right? You have to turn him full heel, and then eventually he has the moment where he comes back to the fold. Because if you watch Revenge of the Sith, I don't give a crap that he threw the Emperor down the chute. It does not erase the amount of people he has killed.
Oh, sure.
It's not a redeemable moment. And I'm glad that Luke has a moment with his dad and he's redeemed and puts him on the pyre and he gets to be a Force ghost. But in my personal opinion, now as an older man watching the films, his redemption moment does not strike me as valid in any way, shape, or form, just because he saved his son. If he saved another planet and billions of people from the Emperor,
technically did by destroying the person in control of the Death Star.
Okay, fine.
I guess it's a technicality,
right.
But I totally agree with you, and we're seeing it more and more in Rebels. We're probably going to see it in Rogue One, just how much of a killer Darth Vader is.
When you see those younglings, when you see that moment in Revenge of the Sith, when he pulls out and the younglings, and then you see Ewan McGregor, Obi-Wan watch the security tape. No, they didn't say security holocron. Whatever they say.
I saw a security hologram where he was killing younglings.
Natalie, poor Natalie. Poor Natalie is trying in those sequences. But
all of them.
Yeah,
all of them.
I don't believe you. And but like you see that and you go, there's no way this guy's redeemable. I don't care that he threw the Emperor down the chute. I don't care. So for me, that's the thing. They have to work really hard at bringing Kylo back from the dead of a comical villain.
Yeah,
you know,
I can see that.
Right.
The next thing you wanted to talk about, was do you remember?
Women in Star Wars?
Was Women in Star Wars.
Women in Star Wars.
Now, we did do an episode with Audrey Kearns,
who was great.
which is a wonderful episode. Go back and listen to that.
Yes.
But I take it there's more that you want to expound upon.
Yeah, I was just on her Booze and Phasers podcast. You should definitely download her podcast on iTunes, Booze and Phasers. It's so much fun. And we actually talked Star Wars on her Star Trek podcast, so that was that was awesome. No, I think we're seeing more and more. It's so interesting to me how natural this progression has become to women coming to the forefront in the Star Wars property. I think it's fantastic. I really do. And it's not it doesn't feel forced in any way, shape, or form to me. And I don't understand people who think it is.
I myself included.
Right? Because like I'm watching these Rogue One trailers, and I'm like, heck yeah, she's fantastic, just fantastic. And why wouldn't you want to follow her into battle? Why wouldn't you follow her into wherever she was going? And you believe her, and she has such a strong presence. You know what I'm saying? You don't need to be male or female. You just need to be a strong presence. Yeah. And it's time to kind of make a little more of balance the scales a little bit more, and that's okay because we're different as a society, so we need to reflect that in our films.
No, I agree.
Just like we reflected it before, we reflected in our films. Like someone was having a back and forth with me on Twitter today, and they were like, "Why are you complaining that there aren't minorities? Why are you trying to make Boba Fett Latino? He's obviously Australian." I go, "So that means Luke's an American on Tatooine? Is that what you're telling me? Like, don't give me that crap. Like, it's not. It doesn't work."
Yeah, we're not dealing with our planets, so it shouldn't matter.
Yeah, all that stuff. So for me, in my opinion, I was like, no, they need to balance the scales a little bit more. He said, "Wait, you're whining?" I'm not whining. I'm accepting the fact that they had Lando Calrissian on Bespin, that they had Mace Windu, which I still have a hard time with Mace Windu, but like they have Bail Organa and all that. So great, you have one singular, but there's still a plethora of white people all over the place. And so the thing is, okay, how do we make? And of course, Darth Vader's voiced by a black guy. I get that, James Earl Jones, of course, but he is a white dude when they take the mask off. Yeah. So to me, you have to balance the scales a little bit more. And I think moving these women, and they're doing it organically, and these women don't look like they're out of their depth and out of their element in so far of what we've seen. Obviously, Daisy Ridley's fantastic in Force Awakens, and so far we've seen the trailers. I think Felicity Jones. I'm sorry, Felicity Jones.
Felicity Jones.
I'm sorry, Felicity Jones is fantastic. I was just seeing something with Lily Collins
Throwing
yesterday.
names at me.
I'm sorry, Felicity Jones is so powerful with her presence on the screen. So to me, I think we have to explore that more. I think there's more to see here because we have to see our stuff through their eyes, like what we see with Claudia Gray, what she wrote in Bloodline or Blood.
Bloodline. Or no.
What is it?
Lost Stars.
Lost Stars,
But
right.
didn't she also do Bloodline?
Yes, in Bloodline
Yeah.
with Leia. We're seeing things through Leia's eyes. We need to see more of the female perspective, and I think it's good that we're getting that because it balances out. We have enough of the male perspective. We have enough men to see things through.
Men in boardrooms.
Yes, exactly. In the Star Wars franchise, so we need women to balance, and then eventually we'll see it through a minority point of view, which we need to see eventually as well. Because damn it, there are minorities in this universe, and they deserve equal pay or equal time. Attention.
Well, both.
Yes, as well.
Let's get both. I think with the success of Luke Cage, while that is Marvel, that's still a wing of Disney, and I think that's enough to warrant a similar property from Star Wars and Disney for that matter.
Yeah, absolutely.
But in terms of women in Star Wars, I'm a little. I feel bad that one of the talking points leading up to Rogue One has been, well, what if this is the story of Rey's mom? What if Jyn is Rey's mom? And then, but then if you think you put Jyn Erso in the same time as Darth Vader, who's Kylo Ren's grandfather, like it doesn't quite work out.
Yeah.
But I think that also cheapens the fact that this isn't supposed to be a Skywalker story.
Right.
So everybody's trying to find things to put together, and I think not until the movie comes out will people be able to separate that. It's like, no, this isn't that.
Right.
No. I mean, there's a Skywalker in it, but no. This is a completely different group of people.
Right.
And I'm beyond excited to see more diversity in all aspects.
Yeah.
Especially the crew for Rogue One.
Yeah.
Like just looks badass.
Right.
Just awesome.
Who has a problem with that crew?
Weird people.
Right. It doesn't make any sense why you would have a problem. They have Asians, they have Latinos, they have white people, they have black people. Like, it's all there. You know why? Because you look in your office, there's all of them there. So why wouldn't there be in the future? Or why wouldn't there be in this property?
In the past.
Yeah, in the past. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So you're reflecting back, your society, and this is why we're making films now. So I wish people would just stop complaining about that shit because we got to move on. We got to get past that stuff and accept it and move on and be better as a society, in my personal opinion. All right.
No, I agree. So actually, speaking of, and now our second expletive on a episode of Jedi Alliance.
I apologize.
Thanks, John. That's all right. Family-friendly fun. Another topic you want to talk about was trilogy versus story films, which we started to. So we've got Han Solo on the docket.
Yes.
We've got Rogue One coming out in 40-some days.
Yes.
What do you want from these stories versus the trilogy one?
Well, I think,
and moving forward.
Well, I think that we'll end the trilogy as we end the trilogy, and that's fine. We started it already. We got to go down that path. In terms of the solo films, I want to see them. I want to see Disney kind of take a chance on them, as we've been saying on the show. This idea of bringing in new voices, like the fact they're using that cinematographer for the Han Solo film. They haven't had an African American cinematographer shoot anything. That's great. You want to have new voices, new points of views. New takes on things, and I think the story films have to stay that route. If Disney starts to think that these things have to be making the same money as the trilogies, and they start changing them and honing it and not willing to take chances, I'm going to be really disappointed. I get it. You're a multi-billion-dollar corporation. You make your money and hit the bottom line and take it. But like you take chances on other things, take chances on this. Let the public. Let the smaller half of the public or the niche half of the public get satiated with story films that are more interesting and explore these characters more. Like the fact that we saw Saw Gerrera in the Rogue One trailer was awesome. Let's go look at his story. Let's go take a Saw Gerrera film. Why not? Like, let's go and explore these guys more and more, these characters more and more, because they're fascinating to us as lovers of the franchise and lovers of the property. So we'll come. We may not come in millions and millions, and mom and pop in the Midwest might not come, but like, we want to see those kinds of films. And so if they're not going to do them as story films, at least do them as halfway in, like do something in June, like release one of those films in June or something, where you don't have a lot invested in
like
it.
art house flicks.
Yeah, do it like that. Why not? You have to expand the brand, and I've always been saying this since day one. You have to expand the brand, And John Campea doesn't always agree with me. He has his views of how Star Wars needs to be really small and insular, but like I think it needs to expand, because remember reading the old books. They expanded like crazy. That extended universe, the Legend stuff, it expanded like crazy. You had galaxies and galaxies. Old Republic stuff. I think that's definitely where we should go with a story film. You should definitely explore, and that's the Old Republic thing as kind of a historical document for the property and the franchise.
So you want to move closer to the Marvel model,
yeah,
which is like multiple films a year,
yes.
TV series, Netflix series.
Sure.
You don't think that'll be too? Because I think people are a little bit scared of that right now because we are in such a small world.
Yeah.
I think once they do something to open it up, like if the movie after Han Solo is one of those expansive niche market ones, that would be the catalyst to go, oh, by the way, we also have 3-season shot of 3 new shows, so we're going to put them on Netflix here, this one on ABC, this one on whatever.
You're probably right. They're waiting for that. And I hope they do that. So this is not saying do this tomorrow. I'm saying this. I want this to happen with the property.
Build to it.
Yeah, because I mean there is enough in Marvel. There's also enough in Star Wars. But that's going to take a lot of effort, a lot of time, because someone has to go through and decide what's canon, how it's connected, what from the Legends that they want to bring in, what from Knights of the Old Republic, what from what new things do they want to create, new planets, new characters, what have you. New adventures, new challenges, what have you. Do all of that. They have to have people already, and I hope they have people already working on it and seeing how they could tie it all in with proposals all the time to the people that are in charge of it in Disney.
Christopher Miller in the chat, no Marvel model, quality over quantity. While I can't agree with that, I do think
they never do anything that's like you're ever going to challenge you.
But at the same time, something that Marvel did do that challenged the world and was successful was Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
These are fringe characters that nobody's really familiar with, with actors that not a lot of people are familiar with, and it did gangbusters. It's still one of my favorite Marvel films. Yeah. So you can take that chance if there's the idea that this will connect at some point.
Yeah.
I don't see why not. Doctor Strange is coming out this weekend.
Yeah.
It did huge overseas this past weekend, and it's going to be a completely new world for Marvel. They're still expanding on the type of stuff that they're doing, and while ultimately the major thought is that not every single movie has been a winner, there are those that are, and with Star Wars, they're trying to get their winners. So I agree with you, so that they can take their chances. Yeah, and I think it's inevitable.
Hey, Christopher, remember quantity over quality in the prequels? Give me a break. This is the thing. You've got to take chances. You've got to expand the brand. You've got to try in order to make it a more solidified part of the culture again in terms of movies. And I think you have to do that. My personal opinion, I think you have to do that.
Interesting. There's a side conversation happening about Rebels and Kanan. I think ever since you brought up ever since you brought it up at the beginning of the show.
Okay.
I don't know.
I like this. Noah at Noah Green Arc says we need more women of color in Star Wars. Agreed.
Totally agree.
Yes.
And then there was also earlier, but I lost it because the chat's moving so fast. There it is. Noah Villaverde says LGBT characters would be cool.
LGBT, absolutely.
And we know that's coming.
We do.
We know that's coming.
Right.
Sluice Friggin says they're all rebel scum. Diverse rebel scum. I like that one a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Women of color. We're seeing that with Sana Solo, rumored to be cast for the new Han Solo film. That needs to happen too. Yes, we're seeing it in Rebels. So why not see? We're seeing it in the comics. We're seeing it in the media, in the books. So why not see it on screen? Eon001
says Ewoks movie. I ain't even joking.
Oh,
I mean, we'll think about it. If we maybe not necessarily Ewoks completely, but if there's a side species that we want, I would love to see a movie of the fall of Kashyyyk.
Yes.
Of the Empire taking over Kashyyyk, and then, I mean, we still need to finish Life Debt, but I mean, regardless, there's so much Ewok media out there already. There's the animated series, there were the live action shorts. So I think Ewoks, we're done with Ewoks.
Yes.
Let's be done with Ewoks
For now.
But for now, let's find a new species.
Yeah.
Even if it's I want to know from episode 7, what are the Lugga beasts? The things with like the mechanical heads and the that are beasts of burden.
Let's find out.
What are those? Where do they come from?
Right.
So we saw so many new species. We talked at end about having a Maz Kanata series where she just recalls stories from her past.
Yeah.
Because she has so much to live for. But yeah, alien characters.
Yeah.
More alien characters. We got a bunch of people saying, and so let us know. Any other things that you want us to talk about? There is one more thing that you brought up, which I think we'll talk about for a little bit.
Okay.
Which was what should be retained from the prequels, and the show is on record as being supportive of the prequels because you got to be. It's a part of the lore. It's a part of the story. We enjoy them. If you go back and watch our watch-alongs that we did with Joseph, and you were in on Attack of the Clones, it changed how you looked at the movie.
Absolutely.
So we respect your opinion if you are not a fan of the prequels, but. This is hollowed ground. This is safe space. Please be nice about your opinions. Be respectful of other people's opinions. What do you think from the prequels needs to be retained?
Well, obviously, number one is Kenobi, but moving past that because we've talked about and that ad nauseum.
Yeah.
I would say something to do with Padme. I want to hear more. I want to find out more. I want to see what happened. Did she really die that way? What happened?
A broken heart.
A broken heart, which you're like, ooh.
We need the coroner report to CSI. Which ship was that?
She had a crack.
Tentive 4.
She had a crack in her heart.
CSI Tentive 4.
Yeah, you're right. Very good. Well done. But no, that needs to come. I think, obviously, we're done with midichlorians. But I think we need to.
You say that,
yeah,
I know.
I say that. We need to be. There's no word that strikes fear more than Jar Jar than midichlorians do. And people even have Jar Jar, but there are now Jar Jar defenders. There are hardly any midichlorian defenders, I would imagine.
I'm one of them.
What? Really?
Yeah, I've said it countless times on the show.
Go ahead.
You use it as propaganda. So this is my way to bring midichlorians back to make people like it again. From the Clone Wars all the way through through the end of the Clone Wars, since the discovery of midichlorians, which they never used to their advantage. They never used it on the Emperor because he probably just waved off, "Hey, let's get a midichlorian count from everybody in the Senate to see who's like." That aside, if the Emperor used that technology to make midichlorian blockers, using that science, which, and I say air quotes for our audio listeners, science, that was established in his young days to make midichlorian blockers for his troops that make it a part of their, hey, you're joining the Empire, we got vitamins for you. Yeah. And then they put that in and it, again, blocks the midichlorians. Yeah. But as we learned from the evolution into the First Order, that midichlorians aren't something that can be dictated by science. If the Force is strong enough, it invalidates the science of midichlorians. Just like in the modern world, how we invalidate theories and theories keep changing. Is midichlorians is an old world idea that doesn't work anymore.
So you want to bring them in to debunk them?
Exactly, and that makes them fine because
so it still allows them to be obviously canon.
And it didn't work on Finn.
Right.
So obviously Finn has some sort of force calling. So if you make it as it's an Empire way of a vitamin to suppress it, then that debunks everything that they found and sort of debunks even what they were using it for in the prequels from Anakin. It's like, over 50,000. That's just a number. That doesn't mean anything. Right. So that's what I think is you bring it in. You evolve the science to make it irrelevant.
Okay. All right.
Not to accept. I mean, to accept it and move on.
I like what you said. Yeah. All right. Is there anything more for the prequels you want to bring in? Is there anything you would like to bring in?
I like how I think with Rebels how they brought the battle droids back in.
Yes.
I think I want to see something. I would like to see something with them, even if it's just a small history lesson of them going to a planet and seeing the Clone Wars just decomposed under like sand or dust or whatever. Yeah. I want to see what happened on Geonosis.
Yes,
for goodness'
sake. They
sake.
keep referencing it and they won't talk. They won't show it.
And if that's Dave Filoni saying that's the movie I want to make, so give me a script so I make a movie. I've been talking about it for 3 years.
I like this idea.
Yeah, why not?
See, and that's one of those story movies you can make, right?
I would like to see, and we talked about it, the elite stormtroopers be the last batch of clones.
Yes.
Because I think that would be a fun reference, as well as you see why stormtrooper training has sort of degraded as we get into episode 5, episode 6. They can't shoot worth a ding dang.
Yeah.
Let us know in the chat if there's anything from the prequels that you want us to retain. It's nice that everybody's having a lovely conversation about many different things.
That's
about that. But I mean, characters, of course. Everybody. I mean, it's the Clone Wars TV show, but I want more Cad Bane.
You do? Yes,
of course.
Okay, so
Goodness,
you're a big fan of Cad Bane.
One of the most original things to come out of that show, and never saw his end.
Yeah.
There's no on-screen death, no burial, no nothing. He's still out there.
And it's all canon.
It's all canon.
Asajj Ventress, I would like to see something with her.
I'd love to see something.
Right.
Quinlan Vos.
Quinlan Vos.
Just make a Twilight movie out of that book.
Yeah, that book. Why not? Why not? That would work once again.
Yeah. That's another thing is they have so many properties, so many books now. The canon books is such wonderful fodder to play with.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Comics, everything.
Yeah.
I was going to say something else too. Curse me! But about the cartoon about Cad Bane. No, what was it? Curse me! I forget.
Okay.
But yeah, there's plenty that has been brought up, whether it's animation, whether it's. I think that there's a lot to still pull from the prequels.
Yeah.
I don't think that the ring theory. Have you heard of the ring theory where George Lucas planned to have everything sort of rhyme in a way to make it? There's a lot of theories like post movie. I remember what I was gonna say.
Okay.
Gungans.
Yes, Gungans.
I wanna see Gungans return in a big way. I know there's a Gungan bounty hunter in one of the comic properties, but I want to see something where it's like they're the actual warrior race.
Yeah.
And if it's a name drop, and name drops, I think too, will be name drops of Jar Jar, name drops of Ahsoka, name drops of stuff that fans are familiar with, and other not as big fans can listen and go, oh, there's history here.
Yeah. And
people are understanding this. This is crazy.
Yeah.
I think there's plenty.
I like that.
Yeah.
Master Darkus asks, would Qui-Gon have eventually left the Order and joined Dooku if he had never died?
What do you think?
No.
I think so as well. No.
There's no way.
No.
He was a good man. Mm-hmm. He was a good person. He would not have, I don't think he'd have joined Dooku at all. I think he'd have stayed, maybe he'd have become another Grey Jedi. He'd have been a Grey Jedi.
If anything, he would have just left the Order.
Yes, right. Been almost like a Ronin type Jedi, where he'd go and do his own thing. Yeah, absolutely.
And people think that because he was using the mind tricks to trick people. I think when you're dealing with freeing a couple of slaves, that's probably okay.
Yeah, right.
For me personally,
you can make that negotiation in your mind. Mm-hmm. Gregory asks, G Post, I want to read this one real quick. What was your favorite moment doing Jedi Alliance? I would say our 100 episode.
Episode 100.
That was so much fun because all four of us got to have our opinions on all kinds of topics and have fun giving each other a little bit of crap and having fun with it. So to me, that was a blast.
For those of you who didn't watch our 100th episode or listen to our 100th episode, head on back. We had Joseph Scrimshaw and Ken Knapsack, the granddaddy of this whole biz, come on in, and we just talked Star Wars for an hour. And it reminded me of why I love doing this show and why I want to keep doing this show.
Right on. Well said.
We also had Jonathan Peck ask, if Yoda is going to be in episode 8 or 9, should Force Ghost Yoda be a puppet or CGI?
This is a damn good question. Mark, I kind of want to... We're done. I kind of feel like do we have to bring Yoda back? Is that the rumor that they're bringing Yoda back?
I think if they bring anybody back from the Force, it should be Anakin.
Yes.
I don't think it should be Yoda. We got Yoda in Rebels.
Yeah, I don't think we need Yoda back in 8 and 9 because there's already so much backlash against it kind of being evocative of New Hope that if you start bringing in all the characters from the past, I think you run a danger of not letting it be its own thing, not letting it have its own identity as a trilogy. And I think that's although Yoda did show up in obviously in the prequels, it's a different Yoda, you know, and so. If this is an older Yoda as a Force ghost, it's not gonna be the same. And people say this sounds just like Ben Kenobi when he's talking to him in his head, and like we can't have that. But Anakin coming back would be interesting, I think, because it's generational. Exactly. If it happens to be that Rey's his daughter, or not his daughter, but somehow connected to him in a family way, it's still generational, and it would work for me. And I still am in the camp of bringing Hayden back and giving another shot at Anakin and in some way, you know, and maybe because Hayden is now older, it might be interesting to see what his acting chops would be with doing Anakin now as an older person, you know, and depending on what age they're going to put him at, because obviously he died when he was way old, but we see him as a young man in Jedi, or you know, so it'll be interesting. I would love to see that.
I would like to see 200-year-old Yoda. You know,
right? Oh,
like his teenage years.
Yeah, a Yoda prequel movie would be fantastic if you can get away with that. But it would be all CGI, so I don't know how much they get away with it. With the combo of practical effects, I suppose.
According to Sluice Friggins here in the chat, heavily rumored Yoda is an 8, and it's a puppet. Frank Oz has been seen on set.
Oh,
so I mean, he's also been a consultant,
right?
So it's not necessarily a huge.
And he could have just been visiting.
Yeah. So, hey, my friends are here.
If I was Frank Oz, I'd go visit.
Jake Stanley, Andy Serkis is a mocap Cad Bane. Ooh. And he could do that voice, too.
Yes, he could.
He could nail that.
Serkis would be great. He's already doing the Snoke stuff, though.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, whatever. He did. He did
multiple apes, I guess, for...
And he did multiple roles in Lord of the Rings.
Yes, he did.
Yeah. I mean, he is the mocap master.
He is.
Thank you, everybody who has been submitting stuff live. We thoroughly appreciate it. We're running low on time here at the Jedi Alliance. Right. So, John.
Yes.
What are you going to take from our time together?
Oh my God!
So what can the folks and this isn't an outro because we still got another thing. But what can the folks expect from you in the future?
Oh yeah, I have other projects that I've been in negotiations with. In fact, something last night came through, and so I'll be announcing that if we get the approval to do it. I'll be announcing that next couple of days.
Very cool.
So it'll be on Mondays, and so it'll be that, and then there's a couple other things that are in the works that if they play out and pan out in a positive way, you will see enough of me. Let's just leave it at that. Is there wood anywhere I could knock on so I don't get in trouble here?
Yeah, it's around. Yeah. It's everywhere.
So, those kinds of things. And obviously, you can see me at Universal Studios for now in the Harry Potter land. And I've been kind of moving towards doing some more voiceover work. So I'm starting to open that back up again. And my ultimate goal is to be a host on a network doing these kinds of things, getting paid to have a living doing this, you know. And I spoke with Jeff Sneider the other night, and we talked about me getting into writing. And so there's all these kinds of things. I just want to keep expanding, just like the brand. I want to keep expanding.
Expand the John Rocha brand.
Exactly. It's not about quantity. It's not about quality. Well, it is about quality, but quantity, and I can handle it. You know, at some point I was doing 7 podcasts at once and working a full-time job. So to me, I'm never satisfied. I'm hungry and hungrier and hungrier every time.
That's why you brought the cupcake.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, he's always hungry.
Yeah, I'm just hungry. I just want my shot, and I'm losing weight. So all those things.
You got low blood sugar.
Yeah, I've lost 6 pounds doing the hiking challenge this month. So it's just, those things. It's little things that I'm kind of making these turns and changes about. I'm still growing as a person. There we go.
It's good that you can still be growing at 35.
Yes, 35. Thank you.
I'm just kidding. He's 30. It may seem like a cop out, but some of my favorite type of announcements are. I can't talk about it right now. I'll be able to talk about it in a little while.
Yes.
Those are some of my favorite announcements. I have a couple of those too. And it's just like, ooh, just you get excited because I'm excited. Yeah. And I'm excited for you, John.
Thanks, man.
It's been a wonderful experience in having you here. And again, it's not like you're not going to be back at some point. I guess now is a better time than ever. So I have an announcement to make as well. Ladies and gentlemen, after much deliberation and mentioned that October has been an experimental month for us, Michael has been a wonderful addition, and I want to move toward that direction. He's not with us today, but after much deliberation, I have decided that Jedi Alliance is going to be going on hiatus for the month of November. It relates a little bit to what we were talking about for News of the Holonet, the fact that news is getting circular and it's just getting, hey, grasping at strings for news stories. There's a lot of changes happening at the studio. There's a lot of changes that we want to do for the show. Something that John and I have been talking about over these 2 months is the fact that all of this is inherited. And while we do want to express our just endless appreciation for those who came before, for Joseph Scrimshaw, for Maude Garrett, for Ken Knapsack, we're still working within a frame that was built for us.
Yeah.
And it's hard to have a voice when you're talking through a modulator of somebody else. So we're still going to be a celebration of the greatest saga ever told. We're going to look a little different. We're going to be a little different. There's going to be a lot of changes. And this does involve finding a I don't want to say replacement, finding an additional host that will be here
please.
instead of John, because it's not. I mean, it's not a replacement because you're gonna be back.
Yeah, so exactly.
So that's the thing is it would be if you were just left in sort of deuces and then just in the later, then it would be one thing. But to be perfectly honest with everybody, there was a point where I considered ending the show.
Yeah.
And I did not want to do that.
Okay.
I did not want to do that because this show has too much history. This franchise has too much history, and I think there will always be something to talk about. But for right now, the show is going to be on hiatus. We're talking about changing days as well, so we may not be on Mondays. Stay tuned to my Twitter, to the Jedi Alliance Twitter, to the Facebook. If anything huge happens while we're gone, we're going to talk about it. We're going to make an announcement. And leading up to our relaunch, we're going to be in full Rogue One mode because we're going to have a couple weeks into the movie debuts. And we're also talking to a lot of folks from different parts of the franchise to be a part of the show. So it's going to be something big. And this is not a word for, we don't know what to do.
Right.
We have a plan. It's not going to be a hiatus until we say so. It's November. Right. 4 weeks, 3.5 to 4 weeks. We're looking to be back the first week of December. So please, and thank you for staying with us in these experimental months. Thank you, John, for being a part of this whole process.
It's my pleasure.
You will leave your footprint will be on this new version, even if you're not going to be here every week.
Thank you.
And I've been beyond helpful for your professionalism and your opinions that you have been able to express on the show.
Thank you. You've been nothing but kind, Mark, and I really appreciate all. When it's been tough, or it's been tough for me to get stuff squared away, you've been very understanding and accepting, and you've been fantastic. And thanks for giving me the chance to read Star Wars books on this podcast. That's been one of the greatest joys, to have people respond to me reading these excerpts. It's been one of the nice surprises of this.
What you got to do is you just got to take the clips and you got to make a reel.
That's a good point.
And then we'll have that.
Yeah, my friend Michael from New York, she sent me. She's like, "Oh my God, I've never this. You should read them all." And I said, "Well, that's very sweet."
You're beautiful.
Thank you very much.
I mean, your voice is beautiful. I don't know what you're talking about.
Hello.
Who said what?
What's that going on in my pants? All right. So anyway,
it's still a family show.
Yes.
So yes, please stay tuned to Jedi Alliance. We will be back. We will have a whole new look and we will have a whole new feel. We will be back in December. You can count on that. Yeah. But until then, John, until we see you again, where can the folks keep an eye on all your work and for those announcements that are happening?
Yeah, definitely follow me at The Rocha Says on Twitter and on Instagram. That's where I am camped out most of the time. I'm now doing my stories on Instagram, so I'm starting to do videos of myself doing stuff, which is really weird. But yes, you can find me 1 p.m. every Wednesday at Geek and Sundry. We do, Yuri Lowenthal and I do the show Super Animation Game Time, where we talk to someone from the world of voiceover animation or video games. Yes, and also the Cinephiles, which is on iTunes. We just recorded one today for The Natural. We just released the one for Die Hard this past Friday, so please listen to that one. That was one of our favorite babies that we've done. And there's a couple other things coming down the pike, as Mark said. One of the favorite things is to talk about. It will be coming up. And, of course, The Walking Dead show on Collider. I do the review at 7 p.m. every Sunday night after the show airs from the East Coast. So it's always a lot of fun to do those shows, and I'm enjoying it. And we'll see where I go from here. And if you want to watch the clip of me going at Scott Mantz, he challenged me to a third fight.
That's what I was trying to get you to say when we were talking about the Schmodown panel.
The Schmodown. Sometimes I'm brain dead. You got to help me. At the Schmodown panel,
it's the low blood sugar.
It really is. Scott Mantz showed up out of nowhere, challenged me, didn't see him coming, made a Star Wars reference. I made a Star Wars reference at him, and it was so much fun. So that'll be probably up on YouTube the next day or so on the Collider YouTube page. But it was so much fun. And thanks to anyone who's listening or watching who showed up and watched us and met us. It was a blast. So thank you so much. Hey, guys. Thank you very much for accepting me into your ears and into your eyeballs every week to talk Star Wars with Mark. It's been an absolute pleasure and so much fun. I'm sorry to be leaving, honestly, because I love talking Star Wars, and I love how Mark and I go back and forth about subjects, and we have nothing but a great time doing the show. And that you can't say that about a lot of shows. And so it's always my goal to enjoy the co-host time with. And Mark has been one of my favorite because we just have a great time doing the show, having busting, you know what I'm saying, busting our chops, each other's chops, and talking about Star Wars. And I couldn't ask for anything more than that. And thank you everyone for the amazing comments and tweets and everything you guys have done. I'm gonna miss you all Star Wars wise, but keep an eye out. There's stuff coming.
That means that we'll have to do something like this again, whether it's Star Wars. I know you've been on my wrestling podcast a couple of times. We need to figure something out.
Definitely.
We will be on camera, on mic, on a podcast, and at some point. For those of you who have, and I'm seeing in the chat, for those of you who are just finding the episode, finding the show,
welcome.
And we're going on a hiatus. This is our 109th episode. That means we have 108 other episodes that you can go back and listen to. That's a lot to listen to over a month's time, but I know you can do it. Go ahead and take a look back at our history, because I'm going to be doing the same thing, seeing how we can evolve, seeing how we can change. But like John had mentioned, I also have projects that we'll be announcing very soon that have taken a lot of momentum from me, and this break from Jedi Alliance, trust me, will help the show. So please do me a favor if you want to follow any of that biz. I am at Mark B. Donica. You can follow all of us here on Twitter at Jedi_Alliance for all of the updates. You can follow us on Facebook. We have a page, facebook.com/Jedi Alliance. You can find a list of all of our past episodes on popcorntalk.com. Subscribe to us here on the Popcorn Talk. We've got shows about DC. We got shows about Marvel. We got shows about Disney, action movies, guilty movie pleasures. We got some great stuff here. Video game movies. I host Video Game Movie Anatomy here if you want to keep an eye on my sorry face. Tonight we're going to be covering the most terrifying movie in video game movie canon, which is Alone in the Dark by Uwe Boll. So please, do us a favor. Keep an eye on the Alliance. We will be back in a big way in December. But, yes, for John Rocha, I am the Internet's Mark B. Donica. We will see you on the other side of the Force.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, Kristian Harloff, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of its owners or principals.